Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Criminal Justice Corner. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Matthews. Today, we are going to dive into a very tragic case of Christina Yuna Lee. She is a person who was a person who lived in New York, who was followed home by a man who brutally assaulted her in her New York apartment. Today with me, I have a very special guest, and I'm going to bring her on now. Her name is Beth from Pretty Loaded. Beth, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on your podcast.
Thank you. Beth, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Right. I started Pretty Loaded in 2013 after I was assaulted. That incident changed my life completely. So I started my own personal safety company, and it's very much a preventative safety. So it uses situational awareness and criminal tactics and body language. And then we talk about fringe areas and how to be a hard target. So we mostly train corporations right now, but we also do individual training.
Now, is your training in person? Is it virtual, or is it both?
It's both. We do virtual, in person, and then we also have an online training platform.
Nice. Now, do you train women and men?
Both. Actually, we probably train more men than women right now when it comes to corporations.
Awesome. Pretty Loaded is going to really help us dive into this case today. So thank you for being my special guest. We are going to talk about Christina Yuna Lee. Like I mentioned, she was a native of New York at the time, and she was minding her own business, coming home from an evening out in New York. She entered her apartment building and was followed into her apartment building by a stranger. She did not know this man. She went up a flight of stairs or so, and he entered her apartment right behind her. She was closing the door. He startled her and brutally assaulted her. Her neighbors were able to hear her screams, and they did call the police. The police came, and they did not enter the apartment. The reasons they did not enter the apartment are still up for debate. There were a lot of different reasons that were given for why they did not enter the apartment. However, the delays in them entering the apartment caused the death of Christina Yuna Lee. Beth, what is your take on this?
It's a very, very sad situation. And I learned about the case because someone from her company, Splice, the music company where she was an executive music producer, they called me on February 16th. She was brutally murdered on February 18th. And I asked why he needed the training, and he told me about Christina's story. It's very, very sad. My take on this, she was dropped off by a taxi at 4:30 in the morning. She entered her apartment. She did not close the door behind her. And we can go over this later. And none of this is by any means her fault. No one deserves this. But she did not close the door behind her. She walked up 6 flights of stairs and then entered her apartment. And he broke in at that time, used her knife, and stabbed her 40 times. And I believe the police got into her apartment about an hour and a half later.
And all of this, I'm sorry?
After it was too late, unfortunately.
100%. Now, all of these actions were caught on camera. So her entering her apartment, caught on camera. Her walking up 6 flights of stairs, caught on camera. Him following her step by step. All of this is caught on camera. The door not being closed behind her, all of this was caught on camera. So none of this part is up for debate. And I think it's really a teaching moment for others, like what you do, Beth. This is really helpful for others to learn how they can do things differently. Like you said, none of this is Christina's fault. She was minding her own business. She was in a place where she thought she was safe. And when we have a home, we should be safe. This man had no right to be in that building. He had no right to invade her privacy, a place where she should be safe. What should men do when they're in situations, let's say in that hallway. Let's say she was walking and noticed him in the hallway. What should she, or could she, I should say, what could she have done, let's say in the hallway?
Well, we like to really talk about the fact that most encounters are over 9 seconds, and the police department on a good day is 15 minutes away. So
Absolutely.
you need to be your own first responder. In a hallway, we talk about body language. You can tell if somebody's about to assault you. So if she turned around, we don't know if she had AirPods in her ears or why she couldn't hear him, following her up those flights of stairs. But like I said again earlier, one of our training, whether it's your home door, your apartment door, your door that you just come into, you make sure you pull that behind you and close it. Just because she see him on the street doesn't mean that he didn't see the taxi pull up and he was hiding behind something and he had all the time to grab that door before it closed, right? But
Absolutely.
if she saw him in the hallway and he was, create distance from a stranger, but then also look at their body language. Does it look like he's about to assault her? Is he staring her down? That's the number one thing. Does he have ominous eye length, right? Do you feel like this person is going to hurt you? Because we always talk about intuition. Intuition is your highest form of intelligence. So does she feel like he's a threat? If she would feel like he's a threat, I would have had her screaming immediately, help, someone come out here, or fire, or anything, to cause other apartment doors to open, start knocking on anybody's door, help, have them open the door. Once there are more people around other than just her, and absolutely do not try to go into your apartment alone if there's a man right there following you, because he's just going to push you right in. And that's why it's also important to physically know how to fight if you had to stop somebody just so you could run and get away.
Now, that is a very interesting tip that you gave there, Beth. I love how you said yell fire because sometimes people yell help and other people just don't want to get involved. I've seen it time and time again. However, if you're in an apartment building and you're yelling fire, everybody's going to want to see where is that fire and they don't want to be affected by it. So they're coming out to see, hey, where's the fire? I don't want my stuff to burn up. I'm coming out to see where's that fire, what's going on. That is a
Right.
really good tip, Beth.
Well, we always suffer from bystander bias. We always think that everyone else, and I'm not saying we, because I'm more of a person that would jump in and help others, along with,
Yes,
I'm sure you would and other people would. But
absolutely.
the average person doesn't want to go out when they hear somebody screaming, help, help. They think someone else is going to help. But if you hear fire, you're opening that door and you're coming out. So you have to think kind of what situation you're in. This is all about mindset, and you can change that situation to another situation that you're in, but mindset is everything when it comes to your safety.
I love that tip, and I'm going to start spreading the word on that one because that is amazing. I would have never thought to yell fire. And because people are going to try and one, save themselves. And then
Right.
two, like you said, come out. So that is going to cause attention to that situation. And if nothing else,
Exactly.
scare that attacker.
Right. And let's say that person wasn't going to do anything to her, but we always say it's better to be safe than sorry. Now with
Always.
all these people flooding out, do you think that man would have assaulted her? Absolutely not,
Absolutely
with all those
not.
people around. Right.
Yeah. And that would have been a chance for her to preserve her life. That would have been a chance, a
Exactly.
possibility, because we can never say what would have happened. We don't know that. We have no fortune telling ball. However, it would have been a chance. I love to give people chances. So a
Yes.
fighting chance, if you will. So that would
Right.
have been a fighting chance for her and or others who find themselves in that situation, because that's what we like to do here at Criminal Justice Corner is give people a fighting chance just in case they find themselves in the same or similar situation. You just never know. Crime is on the rise. I mean, you wake up every day and look what's happening. It's just running
Right.
rampant out here. So, any tips that we can give to the audience, to ourselves, is going to help. So, I love that one, Beth. That is like golden.
Awesome. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, really, really just being a hard target, in general, paying attention to your surroundings, paying attention to anybody that seems like they aren't fitting in, they look like they're out of place. There's so many simple things that you can do, but this is not taught in school. This is not taught
It's
in
not.
college.
It's
And
not.
and this advice is so simple when you hear it and you think about it, but until you hear these different things of how you can get out of certain situations, when you are panicked, when you are nervous, you freeze. Most people freeze. Most people just don't know what to do and they freeze. And that is the worst thing to do. That's why you need the mindset, you need the training. So you're like, I know what to do. I know what to say. I know how to get out of this situation instead of freezing.
I love that. Now let's pivot a little bit. So let's say a stranger follows you into your home, they follow you into your apartment, and they have you alone. Let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, that happens. What can a person do in that situation? Now you're frightened beyond belief because it's just you and it's just them. What are some tips that people can do in that situation?
Okay, so let's just say that you failed all the above where you weren't there
Yes.
and they got into your house, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the first thing is that you're not calling 911 because your gross motor skills they're shot, right? And you're not going to have time to call 911. You're not going to have time to push your safety app because that bad guy has your phone down on the ground. So the number one thing that you can do, he's already showing he's in your house. He's there for bad reasons, right? One of the things is a palm strike. So the palm of your hand, and you don't have to be super fit, but the palm of your hand, and you can strike somebody right into their nose. And I don't want you just to stop, at their nose, but push up into their nose and push all the way back. That alone causes so much pain and makes your eyes water that it hurts like hell. And that gives you time to get out. Where else can you hit? You can hit in the solar plexus because at this point, you do have to stop them somehow so you can get out of your home. Because I'm guessing they're not there, they didn't break into your home to ask you for $5 or something like that. They're there
Or to
for
play
a bad
Uno.
reason.
They didn't do that. They did not break into
Right.
your home to play Uno, you know? And,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and another one is, the groin area, and I would say
Yes.
that for men or women. If a man follows you in your home, if a woman follows you in your home, that groin area is another place too.
Right. And one of the things that I teach my students, it's very hard to hear, but after all of the cases that I am alerted about, all of the women who do not live, they always have skin under their nails, but they didn't know that they could stick their fingers into the eyeballs. Have 10 digits, stick them in the eyeballs. If they're trying to kill you or they're doing something to you, that is absolutely going to stop that person. They will come off of you. The throat, punch them in the throat. Like you said, the groin, absolutely. So many areas on the human body. It takes 15 pounds of pressure to break somebody's kneecap. There have been stories of young girls kicking in the kneecap as hard as they can where they break their kneecap, if you kick in underneath. So it's just knowing how to fight. Your elbows are incredibly strong. You can elbow somebody, you block punches. There's all sorts of things, but it's all about being smart enough, to stop somebody to get away.
And you know what else? And I'm gonna say this, and it might sound funny, but I'm a avid Lifetime movie watcher. I love me some Lifetime movies. And it's always the climax at the end, and they hit the person one time and they run off. That is not the real world. That is not
Yeah.
it. It is
Yeah.
not the real world, people, man or woman. That is not the real world.
Yeah. You're going to have to
Continue
fight.
to eliminate that threat. I'm a
Yep.
former sheriff, Beth. I'm not sure if you know that. I'm a former sheriff. You have to eliminate the threat. Hitting somebody one time is not going to eliminate the threat. You have to continue to hit that person until you know you are safe.
You have to be more aggressive and more brutal than they are, you know.
Exactly.
Knee into the solar plexus or groin, and then an elbow down on the back of their neck, or whatever. I do know Christina Yuna Lee did fight because the other guy did have stab wounds. She tried to fight. She tried,
Absolutely. Right. And that's
and
what
they have all
no,
sorts of things. People that try to fight sometimes they do end up getting away. But if you don't fight at all, there's no chance.
Absolutely. But that's why we like to give the tips, because sometimes, and it's not every time, but sometimes when people get into these terrible situations, they freeze. This is
Right.
why we do this. This is why we talk about it. Because when you're faced with a situation, you go off of memory. You go off what you've heard, what you've seen before. So if they draw back to even our conversation, they're like, oh my gosh, they're panicking, and they just kind of try and jog their memory really quickly. And so these tips might help somebody. And that's why I like to
Absolutely.
give these kinds of things. They're going to remember the highlights of this conversation: groin, elbow, throat, palm. These are the types of things that they're going to remember. And that's why I like to have these types of conversations with experts like you, Beth, because these things might save someone's life. What do you think?
Your podcast will absolutely save lives. The videos that I have produced, I have emails on YouTube. We have people reaching out that will say, your video saved my life. This person was after me, and because of your video, I walked back into the store and I found an escort, or all different things. And it's because they heard that. And that's all that it takes, is that mindset to remember, oh, I remember. But if you don't ever learn that stuff, like you said, you do freeze. You don't think about those things real quickly until it's already happened.
It's exactly. And something else I like to give to people is, when you're faced with a situation, and I would say, like, the last ditch resort is to, they say, fight or flight. That's something else to do. Run. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? That's that. I mean, let's say you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't fight. Oh my gosh, I'm scared to get close to that person. Run. That your last
Absolutely.
ditch effort. Do you teach your students that, Beth?
Yes, we always call it transition to Nike. We always say that fighting is the last resort. Nobody wants to be in a fight. So that's why we do this training, because most of the time, if you know how criminals operate, you can pick them out on the street, you see them straight ahead, cross the street. Now you go into a restaurant because you see somebody there, or you use a car as a barrier to run around. Every time you're in a venue or a restaurant or at a concert, you think about, where could I exit? Because most people, if they're in an active shooter event or whatever it is, they go out the door they came in, which is usually the very front door, and it's the fatal funnel. But you think about, there are no rules. There are no rules when somebody's trying to hurt you. You can go at the
None.
kitchen of a restaurant. You can go, over the stage of a concert. There are no rules. And so that's why it's important. Always have an exit strategy. And you're not paranoid. You're just simply being prepared, and you're confident, empowered.
Absolutely. And a window. Sometimes windows
Yeah,
are
break a
okay.
window. Break a window. Yeah, even break a window if you have to.
Absolutely. Whatever you can. If it's you or them, you make sure it's them. That's what I'm
Yeah.
going to tell anybody.
Yes.
That's it. That's the bottom line. If it's you or
Right, right.
them, you make
Right.
sure it's them. And then you worry about the consequences later, because you have to preserve your life. You have friends, you have family who love you, and they want to see you at the end of the day. You cannot let
Exactly.
this perpetrator take what is yours.
Exactly. Yep. Don't let anybody turn your dream into a nightmare. It's not worth it. It is
I
not
love
worth
that,
it.
Beth.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. Now, Pretty Loaded, where can the listeners find you?
They can find us at prettyloaded.org, and they can email me or any of our awesome affiliates around the country at empowered@prettyloaded.org.
Now, do you have social media?
I do. Yes, we have a YouTube channel. Pretty Loaded ND is our YouTube channel. We have a bunch of free videos on there. Our website, we have all sorts of blogs and videos. And just watch these videos will give you so many tips, like how to be a hard target, because we do know that criminals go after soft targets. They have done so much research on criminals, and they are looking for the easiest person to get. And that is not going to be you from now on. Whoever is listening, you are going to be a hard target. And so there are all sorts of videos on there, but we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Thank you so much, Beth, for being my special guest today. The tips you have given the listeners are going to resound in them for years to come because one, they're going to be a hard target. Two, they're going to remember groin, they're going to remember elbow, they're going to remember palm strike, they're going to remember throat in case they get into situations where they find themselves where they can't think quickly or they should be thinking quickly. So
Right.
this is powerful. This is powerful information that you've given the listeners at Criminal Justice Corner today. And I'm just excited that you were even able to come on and share this information with them today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's an honor to be your podcast.
Thank you. And I want to tell everybody out there, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. If you have not already become a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Justice Corner. Thank you.